Hi guys, welcome to my channel. This is a channel where I'm going to discuss about true crime that happens mostly in Indonesia. Because there are so many true crime stories from other countries, but from Asia, especially Indonesia, there are very few that make its headline to international news. And I know you guys are hungry for more stories, crime stories, so here you guys will get a lot of stories that you guys might never heard before because it's from Indonesia and I've never heard it being brought out to international world. So here, let's just start with one of the most famous and still unsolved mystery in Indonesia. A story about Akseyna, a Hadori. Let's just jump into the stories. Welcome to Detective AM. The story starts on 21st March 2015 when a Colonel Mardoto, one of a military general in Indonesia, went to Candi Borobudur or Borobudur Temple in Magelang in East Java. He went there for vacation with his family, and then suddenly when they were having a lunch break, he remembered about his son, Akseyna, who lived in Depok City, far from him, alone, because he attended a university in that particular city. The university he attended is a very famous national university, one of the best, one of the most prestigious university of Indonesia. So while he was resting, he decided to give his son a call. Akseyna used to be called Aceh. So we're going to call him Aceh in this video. He was enrolled in undergraduate degree in biology program, and when Mardoto called him, he picked up. They had usual conversation between father and son, everything's going well, updating what he's been doing. And then they talk about bike. Because previously Akseyna asked his parents to buy him a bike so he could travel around from campus to his hostel where he lived easier. And actually Mardoto already sent him some money. But Akseyna himself still not sure which one he should get. So they keep exchanging pictures of bike that might be more suitable for him. And in the end of the call, Aceh said he's still not sure which one he should buy, and then they ended the call not knowing that it's gonna be the last call they had. From Metro Tempo News, it said that Mardoto and his wife usually called Aceh mostly on weekends, and Aceh usually update what he's been doing almost every day too. But the next week, Aceh went MIA. He didn't call. His parents been trying to reach him, but he didn't pick up the call. He didn't reply to the messages. But at first, Mardoto and his wife didn't think much. Maybe Aceh was busy. College is sure a tough period of life. And maybe Aceh didn't have data, or maybe lost his phone, or maybe just didn't charge his phone. So let me introduce guys first with who is Akseyna as a person. Aceh is very gifted. He is definitely very smart. He won some national competition in biology. He received many certifications. He even got a perfect score in math. You guys, we know we all hate math, but he got a perfect score. So we all know how smart he was. So at March 26th, 5 days after their phone call, Mardoto and his wife saw something on the news. It's a headline national news. A dead body found in Lake Kenanga. Lake Kenanga is one of many lakes in Universitas Indonesia. And the dead body, still not identified yet, it is called John Doe. And when both of them watched the news and saw that there's a dead body found in their son's university, they didn't think much. Never had they imagined that this news will change their life. In their minds, it must be someone else. But they decided to just give Aceh a call just to check on him, to see if he's doing fine, if the news of the dead body is somehow troubling him, or if it's someone that might be his friends. So they decided to give Aceh a call. But the phone didn't ring. And then they checked back all the messages that Aceh didn't reply from days before. And they realized it's been 5 days. Aceh didn't talk to them. They tried to rest easy, tried to think positively. Maybe the phone was dead, and they believed that once the phone is being activated, Aceh will definitely get back to them. But the feeling of not knowing where their son is eating them alive. Day after day, finally, they decided to just ask their relative to go and check on Aceh. One of the relatives, which we know and refer to as Aceh's auntie, lived in the same city where Aceh lived. They both lived in Depok. So Mardotos decided to ask this auntie to go check on him, just to see. So on 29th March, Aceh's auntie came to Aceh's hostel and found that Aceh's room, was locked. Aceh was not inside. And then she went to ask one of the security guard in that hostel, where's Aceh, if he saw him. The guard named Eddie Sukardi said, "Oh, sorry ma'am, the last time I saw Aceh was around 5 days ago, around 11 p.m. that night, and ever since, Aceh has never been back." And that was when the auntie feeling like something must be wrong. Aceh is not the type of person who will just go anywhere without telling anyone, and 5 days, where has he been? I haven't told you guys, but Aceh is very introverted. He didn't have so many friends because he enjoyed himself. His routine every day is almost repetitive. He's like the typical smart guy we all know. So the auntie decided to call Mardoto and told him, "Hey, your son has been missing for 5 days. And that's when the nightmare began. When Mardoto and his wife heard that Aceh had been missing for 5 months, they had a really sick feeling inside their stomach. But finally, that same night, all the messages that had been pending that was sent to Aceh's phone finally delivered. And quickly, they gave Aceh a call. And it rings. Finally, it rings. They feel relaxed, they finally feel they can breathe. But then when it got answered, the one who was on the phone was not Aceh. Until now, we didn't know who was on the side of the phone. But we know that it is one of Aceh's friends. It's a guy. And he said that he and the other friends been looking for Aceh, who's been missing for 5 days. They were, by the time of this call, inside Aceh's bedroom, tried to look for any clue where Aceh was. And that's why they decided to turn on Aceh's phone. So that's why all the messages that Mardoto and his wife trying to send to Aceh finally delivered, and the phone finally rings. And again, they felt very, very sick because previously, no one ever answered Aceh's phone except for Aceh himself. So Mardoto and his wife asked what happened, what was happening in that room. The guy told them that everything was inside Aceh's bedroom. His wallet, his phone, his bags, everything was there except one piece of clothing. It's their university jacket, a jacket in which there's embroidered. Written on the jacket was Universitas Indonesia. This jacket was missing. And I can't fathom how would they know that it's the only piece of clothes. I didn't even know if any of my clothes missing until I wanted to use that cloth, but it was not inside my wardrobe. And all of these red flags is enough to send Mardoto directly fly to Jakarta, to Depok City, to find Aceh by himself. The last sighting of Aceh was on 25th. The dead body that was found in Kenanga Lake was on 26th. And the dead body was unidentified. There's a dreading feeling in both of his parents. So Mardoto decided to just fly to Jakarta, to Depok City. And initially, he went to hospital, just in case the John Doe was his son. But when he reached hospital and saw the body, he really couldn't tell if he's Akseyna or not, if he's Aceh or not. It was severely damaged, been underwater for hours, very hard to tell. So he was referred to go to the police station to see the belongings of the dead body, if he know any that belong to his son, if he remember or any who's belong to Aceh who's missing. So then he went to police station. He brought Aceh's photo and told the guard that he was looking for his son. And he was afraid that the dead body was his. So he wanted to see and check all the belongings that police found with the dead body. But the officer or the guard, I don't know which one, but one of the people who's taking charge at that office at that time told him that they cannot give him permission Because the photo that Mardoto bring, the picture of Aceh, was very different with the dead body. And the police or the officer very sure that it wasn't him, it couldn't be him. So Mardoto was asked to leave. And I believe that Mardoto was feeling relaxed and calm when he heard that, oh, this couldn't be your son, the dead body couldn't be your son. It's very totally different. And I believe, of course, Mardoto will never wish that the dead body was his son. So he went back, but this time he went back to Aceh's university because one of his lecturers was asking to talk to him. When Mardoto arrived at the university, he didn't only see the lecturer, he saw two of Aceh's friends also who joined the talk. We didn't really know what they were talking about, but what we know is that when Mardoto was there, one of Aceh's friends who was there gave him a letter that was said to be Aceh's last letter. What was written in it was so horrible. It said, "Will not return for eternity. Please don't search for existence. I apologize for everything. Sincerely, Akseyna." When Mardoto read this letter, he sure as hell this was not something that Akseyna wrote. I don't know if it's a denial or not, but he has a reason. Akseyna's TOEFL score was above average. He knew English very well. And if we saw this letter, it's a very short sentence, but it's not a perfect sentence. Let's just put it that way. And this letter will change how the case was being investigated by police. Because this is of course shows that there's an indication of suicide in here. He definitely didn't believe this letter, but this letter urged him to just go to the police station again and ask the police if he could just take a look at the things that the dead body had, because he didn't feel well at all. And with this letter, finally the police let him in. And then what he saw made him sick in the stomach. He could definitely easily identify the body. He could easily identify everything that was being placed on the table. The gloves, the shoes. So now police have some leads. They ran an autopsy and then checked the DNA and then easily found that it's a match. The dead body, the John Doe, was Akseyna. What makes Mardoto was angry, sad, confused, and baffled was why only now the letter came out. When was the letter? On the night when he talked to Aceh's friend. The night when all Aceh's friends told him that they were looking into his room, they've been ransacking the bedroom, searched here and there. Nobody mentioned the letter. So now why the letter only came out now? So we learned that there's two versions of how this letter was found. First, the letter was found nailed on the wall. But who found it? How could it be not seen by the group of friends the night before? We all don't know. And the second source said that it was found by Jibril, Aceh's best friend. So let us talk about Jibril. Jibril is the very first friend that Aceh had when he just entered the university. They're both in the same class. They were both actually lived in the same hostel before finally they got separated. But Jibril has always been like Aceh's brother. They are very close. And almost every morning when they were still lived in the same hostel, Jibril always came to Aceh's bedroom to just wake him up for morning prayer. And here we know that Aceh never locked his door. Jibril also the first person who checked on Aceh. We also learned that Jibril was the first person who checked on Aceh. The dead body was found on 26th. Jibril came to Aceh's room on 27th, but the room was locked. So Jibril went back home before he finally came back again to check on Aceh on 29th, but this time with a spare key and got inside. If you guys remember, on 29th, actually Aceh's auntie also came, but they didn't meet each other because Aceh's auntie came around noon while Jibril came on evening. And if you guys also remember, on that night, on 29th, it's actually the day when Mardoto and his wife was calling Aceh's phone and got picked up by a group of friends. So at least we can assume one of the person in this group was Jibril, but we didn't know if the person who spoke to them was Jibril or not. Still, why they didn't mention the letter? The most important thing. It is even more important than the jacket that was missing. The only piece of clothing that was missing. Because of this letter, I've told you guys, this really changed the whole investigation. Police assumed that it was a suicide. The autopsy results say that there's no cause or there's no sign of foul play. They believe that it's a suicide case. But Mardoto and his family didn't believe it at all. Aceh's family didn't buy this at all. They believe Aceh couldn't be taking his own life. Let's talk about how was the body when was being taken out from lake. The John Doe was wearing a jacket with Universitas Indonesia letter on the back of it. If you guys remember, that was the piece of clothing that was missing, that was said by his friends. The body also had a bag with him, a backpack, and inside the backpack, it had around 14 kilogram weight of paving block. Police found water and sand inside his lungs, determining that he was still alive when he went into the water. But it's very baffling because the lake was actually very shallow. It's only 170 centimeter height. It was around Aceh's height himself. Why did he choose this lake? Kenanga Lake is only one of many lakes in that university. And Kenanga Lake was one of the most visited lake around all. There are many lakes that was very secluded and rarely people came there. Based on Aceh's letter, he didn't want to be found. He didn't want people to search for him. But if he really didn't want people to search for him, why he picked a lake that will definitely give him the probability of being found easily. And also, to be drowned in a shallow water, you need to be unless unconscious. The fact that there's water and sand inside his lungs means that he was unconscious, and then put inside the water. And I believe that you couldn't be unconscious first, then only jump to the water. The other thing is the shoe's heel, there's a scratch on it. A consistent mark of being dragged. It's as if someone dragged the body and the heel was being scratched all the way from the ground. So Aceh's family asked for a second autopsy. And finally, police said there's a revision from the first autopsy. A revision. How could it be possible? They said that they found bruises all around the body, covering his body. How could it be? People say, oh, maybe it was some frictions from him being scratched from the rocks, under the water, the sand. But the mark was said not to be caused by a friction. It was by an object that was seemingly on purpose caused by an object. Later, Mardoto decided to send Aceh's letter to a graphologue to ask if this letter was really written by his son or not. And the result was baffling. The graphologue, whose name Deborah Dewi, said 75% of the letter was not written by Aceh. Some words probably being written by Aceh, but the rest was not. The letter was confirmed to be written by two persons. I know, mind-blowing again. Aceh's family keep asking for justice until finally police changed how they investigate this case. Officially, Akseyna's case changed from suicide case to homicide case on March 4th. And finally, they are looking for someone who's responsible or some people who might be responsible. There are so many drama in this case. This was national headline news. Aceh's family believe it must be someone who know him, someone close to him, someone who he trusts. Because Aceh, I've been saying it over and over again, he didn't just hanging around with people. He had a small crowd. He had a small social life. So, all eyes were on Jibril, the best friend, the closest person to him. The first person who was looking for him, the first person who was checking on him, the first person who found the letter. Jibril, along when the case was being investigated, his statement was never publicized. While all eyes on him, he remained silent. But his father did not. His father, Nanang, tweeted 41 tweets on Twitter to defend his son and tried to tell the truth. When the media was trying to attack his son, he was trying to defend his son. Of course, we had a new side of story here. And I think it's fair enough. But it didn't start well. Nanang said he has forgiven everyone who accused his son wrongly, but he believes sincerely Aceh took his own life. There were some problems going on in Aceh's life. His report card was very bad. It was a disaster, and Aceh was really afraid to show his parents how bad he's doing in college. And also, many times, Aceh told Jibril that he was very confused of what he's been doing in his life. All his achievements, all he's been doing, all the good things that he's done, everything he did because he had to do it. It never came from inside of him. Also, he said that Aceh's relationship with Mardoto was not good at all. Aceh would take all calls except for his father. And before Aceh went missing, he'd been telling several friends that he is sick of how everything's going on. He believed there's something needs to be changed, and for that, there must be a big event. We really don't know what all these words means. It could always be translated as whatever we like. Nanang also said Aceh actually wrote some fictional books, and one of them called Ghost Boy. Ghost Boy is a story of a boy, a man who's from the very beginning of his childhood never have a destination. Everything he did was never from his heart. And he felt lost, so he decided to take his own life by drowning himself inside a lake. And even though this information already been shared to the police did not take it seriously. And also, Nanang said that there was only 4 words that was written by another person or suspected to be written by another person in Aceh's letter. And even if these 4 letters were taken out, the meaning of the letter will not change. And then lastly, he stated that he believed Akseyna took his own life, and if police had to charge someone for this incident, he hoped that the police charged the right person, not blindly judging and accused his son. This case still a mystery, and even though 6 years been passed, there's no development in this case. Mardoto has been writing about Aceh's case on his own blog and been trying every year, reminding police, president, the mass media to remember that his son still has no justice yet, that their family is still looking for closure. If any of you guys are Indonesian listeners, if you guys have any information about this case, you may try to submit an information to police so that this case will develop and the answers to his parents' prayer, and hopefully can give some answers to what happened with Akseyna. That's all our story for today's video. Thank you so much, and if you guys like this video, please subscribe and like so that I will deliver more Indonesian true crime stories to you. See you guys on the next video.